What's up everybody, Matt Maran here for another weekly update. So there's lots of exciting news to go over here this week, some pretty big debuts since it's the Detroit Auto Show this week. But before I get into the news here this week, I first want to mention I'll be doing my usual weekly live stream on Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern time, so join if you can. It's always a great time just talking cars and answering your questions and just having a good time. So join if you can. But anyway, moving into the news here this week, the first biggest news story is that the best-selling vehicle in America got a refresh this week, the 2024 F-150. So as you can see, it gets new grills and bumpers. There's headlights up front that are new, and LED headlights are now coming standard, thankfully, which is great. There's also new wheels and colors, and out back there's redesigned taillights and a new Pro Access tailgate option, and so that allows the middle to swing out so you don't have to reach over the tailgate there. The bed also gets a new storage box and cutouts. There's also a new Platinum Plus trim that is the top of the lineup now and replaces the limited trim that used to be at the top there. All the other trims, though, are sticking around, and inside, the refreshed F-150s are mostly the same, but Ford says it does get a new electrical architecture that's running behind the scenes. The 12-inch screen and the 12-inch digital gauges are now standard, which is pretty impressive to get both of those as standard, and that is almost certainly going to raise up the price there, but we don't have pricing for these yet. But the other tech that's impressive is that you can get a head-up display now that's available, and that's the first time you've been able to get that in an F-150. Other tech that's now standard is blind spot monitoring, lane keep assist, and Blue Cruise 1.2, which is the hands-free driving tech, although that feature will only be free for the first 90 days of purchase before Ford demands either a monthly or a yearly subscription in order to stay subscribed to it. Mechanically, the big change is the naturally aspirated V6 base engine is now gone, and the 2.7-liter EcoBoost twin-turbo V6 is now standard. The PowerBoost hybrid option also now is the same cost as the regular 3.5-liter twin-turbo V6 EcoBoost engine to make the hybrid a little more appealing there. And that hybrid is also now smoother, they say, and they think that because of that cost parity, a lot more people will go for the hybrid now, which will certainly help with their fleet emissions and all that. The 5-liter V8, though, does continue to be offered as well, and it and the rest of the other engines are carryovers and they're unchanged aside from a few emission tweaks, according to Ford. Lastly, the Raptor and the Raptor R are also sticking around, thankfully, and we'll get a few nice new improvements as well. But just the fact the Raptor R is sticking around when the TRX is going away is a really big deal and awesome news on its own. But as far as the improvements here, for the regular Raptor, it gets new dual live valve Fox shocks on it for better handling on and off-road, and it does require the 37-inch tires. The 35-inch tires will still run the single live valve Fox shocks. There's also a modular front bumper that's now available as well, and you can even get that on a Tremor. And the Raptor R also will be getting more horsepower, but Ford didn't give an exact number, only saying it is targeted to be the most powerful high-performance off-road truck ever with over 700 horsepower. The current one does 700, and so that means if it's going to be the most powerful, then it'll be over the 702 that the TRX does. So they basically just have to bump up horsepower by 3. We will see how much more it goes beyond that, but that's all they're needing to do there. So not a big benchmark, but we'll see what ends up happening. Anyway, ordering is open now, but the 2024 F-150s won't begin arriving until next year, and there's no pricing on those yet. So we'll have to wait and see how that ends up happening. But I feel like pricing is going to get more expensive with the engine upgrade, the tech upgrade, all being standard. That's going to raise those prices up in addition to the inflation rise. So be prepared for base F-150s to be a lot more expensive than they used to be. That's all I'm going to say. But anyway, the other big Ford news here is that they've also redesigned the Ford Oval for the first time basically since 1976. So pretty big deal. It gets rid of the chrome and swaps in some white there, along with a thinner outer single ring, replacing the thicker double rings that there were before, and the Ford letters grow larger to use that newfound space. It's hard to tell, but the blue background appears to have gotten a little darker as well, but there's no identical lighting, to really compare between the old and the new, but it seems like it'll first be appearing here on the F-150 before it inevitably, rolls out to the other models in the Ford lineup that still use the oval badge, which I feel like is getting more and more rare these days. A lot of them, aren't using that badge anymore, but the ones that will, we're going to get the new logo, and I think it's a nice improvement for sure. Another truck that got a refresh here in Detroit was the 2024 Jeep Gladiator, and basically gets all the same changes we already saw on the 2024 Wrangler back in the spring, but the quick summary here is that it gets the new grille, a windshield antenna now, new wheels, the bigger 12.3-inch screen, which is standard, by the way. It has wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto as well. Along with that screen also has a built built-in Jeep Adventure Guide, which is really helpful and kind of is like a trail navigation system and also a trail guide all in one, giving you some prep as far as what to expect on the trail and all that. There's also 12-way power seats that are available and rear seat pre-tensioners and standard side curtain airbags, which both will really help safety. And we already knew about these side curtain airbags, but the pre-tensioners I wasn't expecting, and that's really great because the IIHS just came out with these new crash tests where pre-tensioners are basically needed in order to get a good rating, and it seems like Jeep is reacting really quickly to that, which is great, and improving that rear seat safety. And also the curtain airbags are long overdue, but really glad that we now have better safety here in the Gladiator and the Wrangler. Other safety touches are that the Sport S trim and up will all get automatic emergency braking and adaptive cruise, which means only the bare bones, no options vehicles are going to be the only ones that don't have that. The manual transmission will continue to be offered, thankfully, as well, and there's a few other little tweaks to packages and content for each trim. Like, for example, the Willys now gets a rear locker as standard. There's also 2 new trims, a Mojave X and Rubicon X, which takes the regular versions and basically puts all the luxury stuff on them as well. So basically you can just infer they're basically like fully loaded versions of those, and that's what the X is going to denote there. Mechanically, it's all carryover with the recent announcement that the diesel is going away by the end of the year. Means your only option now for the engine is the Pentastar V6. And so it's unfortunate that they're still not offering, the Turbo 4, the V8, or the 4xe versions. It's, kind of strange. I'm not sure what they're waiting for since that's all in the Wrangler and it all fits. So I would assume there wouldn't be any kind of hold up there, at least as far as the Turbo 4 and the 4xe. Maybe the V8 would be a little more challenging, but even that I don't think would be impossible. But Jeep did say, though, that all Jeep brand vehicles will offer an electrified version by 2025. So I'm not sure if that's calendar year or model year, but that means either in a year or two, there will be a 4xe version of the Gladiator. So that'll be something to look forward to if you are looking for something other than the V6. That'll give it a nice power upgrade as well and kind of restore the power that's been lost with the diesel option there. Anyway, these should be arriving at dealers here by the end of this year, assuming these strikes don't hold that up, because they just announced here on Friday morning that they are striking at 3 different plants for GM, Ford, and Stellantis. And the Stellantis plant that they're striking first is the one that builds the Wrangler and the Gladiator in Toledo. So as of right now, they're not building them at all, and that will be the case as long as this strike happens. So that date could get pushed back. But if by some miracle the strikes end quickly, then the dealers should have them by the end of the year. But now I would safely assume don't expect these until 2024 at some point. But anyway, interesting to hear that. Another truck with retro vibes that debuted this week here was the 2024 Nissan Frontier Hardbody Edition. So unlike the Jeep, this harkens back to the 80s and the 90s with wheels that look just like the old version, just a little larger. They're 17s now. But that's impressive. They basically copied the wheels. They went that bold, and I love it. On top of that, you also get the cool black bumpers and mirrors. There's rad graphics on the side and on the back tailgate there, and a sport bar in the bed. It's available only on the SV Crew Cab, a 4x4 trim, unfortunately, and it is an extra $3,890, which is steep for any appearance package. So yes, we will see. It's so cool, but then they screw up the pricing. It sucks. But it's maybe gonna still appeal to some people that are really into the retro thing and don't mind spending that much extra money on a Frontier. But anyway, other people who want to spend more money on a Frontier, there's also now a more luxurious SL trim for 2024 at the top of the lineup now, which basically gives you all the same luxuries you got in the Pro 4X version, meaning leather seats and the upgraded stereo from Fender. You get those, but you don't have to have all the off-road stuff of the Pro 4X. That's what the SL trim is for. It'll give you all the luxury stuff and be a softer luxury truck there. So that's a nice thing to offer. And so prices are going to be starting at $29,770 before destination, and they should be available here soon. GMC here has debuted the 2024 Acadia this week, which is all new, and it builds off the new platform from the 2024 Chevy Traverse that just debuted a couple of months ago, which means it's grown a lot compared to the last Acadia. So it's on a 10.6-inch longer wheelbase, almost a foot longer. It's also 8.4 inches longer overall, and it's 3.2 inches taller. The look is also more chiseled on the sides, but does throw out the bold C-pillar of the Traverse for a more traditional window arrangement, which GMC said they did to improve third row visibility. There's also some big changes inside compared to the Traverse with a whole different dashboard, which is really impressive. They're doing this much differentiation this time around. There's also a vertical 15-inch touchscreen instead of the horizontal screen you get in the Chevy. So this is unique to GMC as well. It does look like it's pulled straight out of the Sierra EV, which was the first to debut this screen. Maybe there's some minor differences, but I believe it's the same screen there. But thankfully, since this isn't an EV, it still gets wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto, which tells me that, it's the same hardware, it's the same screen. In the Sierra EV, it's going to, not have the smartphone integration, and this it will, which means it must just be a software thing they just flip on and off at will, and there's no physical reason why they can't do this or any kind of software reason either. It's just a choice. So anyway, maybe there's going to be some way to, do a workaround with these screens in the EVs. I don't know, but anyway, getting back to the Acadia here, it also gets a unique column-mounted shifter for more storage space, and the AT4 version goes a bit further than before too, now getting an extra inch of ground clearance, all-terrain tires, unique 18-inch wheels, a different bumper with tow hooks and a skid plate integrated in, and also orange marker lights built into the fender flares there, which is a very cool look. The Denali also gives you lots of luxury stuff, including real laser-etched wood trim, a 16-speaker stereo, and Super Cruise, and that Super Cruise is also available on the AT4, and even the Elevation Premium trim, so even the lower trims get that as an option, which is great. One thing that is shared with the Traverse is the engine, with the Acadia also throwing out the naturally aspirated V6 in favor of a new 2.5-liter turbo 4-cylinder that does 328 horsepower and 326 pound-feet of torque, which is identical to the numbers of the Traverse, so there's no power upgrade here for the GMC. But this does bump the tow rating by 1,000 pounds to 5,000 pounds total now, and it's paired up to an 8-speed automatic in either front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, and then if you go for the AT4 version, you'll also get a more capable dual-clutch rear diff for its all-wheel drive system. There's no pricing for these yet, but will be starting to arrive at dealers here in early 2024. Moving on from Detroit here, Volkswagen has debuted a custom-built ID.7 for a Volkswagen enthusiast show here in Switzerland called the ID Drivers Club. And so the car is called the ID.X Performance, and it gets a dual-motor system that does 551 horsepower and has a boost mode, and they also lowered the ID.7 by almost 2.5 inches, retuned the suspension, added new wheels and brakes, along with more aggressive bumpers and a huge rear wing. So all that stuff, probably isn't very production ready. And unfortunately, like most of Volkswagen's show cars, they usually never see the light of day on the production side. So don't hold out any hope for anything like this. Maybe they could do something like an ID.7 Performance that strips off all the crazy aero, just gives you a slightly more aggressive look, maybe the extra power. That's about it, but we'll see. Cool idea though, and fun to see them, build a car for an enthusiast show, if nothing else. And then the last news story here this week is that just after revealing the Mini Countryman, the all-new one here just less than 2 weeks ago, they're already teasing a John Cooper Works version. And as you can see from their Instagram post here, it gets sportier styling with the checkered flag style grille, unique LED accent lights that turn the angular rings into brackets, which is an interesting touch, and sportier bumpers front and rear. And for a nice surprise, the previous intel about the John Cooper Works being electric only turns out that was wrong, because as you can see here, it appears there's exhaust tips there hiding in the shadows on the rear bumper of this Countryman here. And Autoblog is reporting that it won't just be the Countryman either, and that the John Cooper Works version of the Cooper, the regular Cooper, that is also going to be a gas-powered vehicle, but that both of them will be arriving next year. But then they according to Mini's product line chief, they told Autocar that by 2025 there will be an electric John Cooper Works that's offered. So I guess they will have both, which would be a nice thing to offer people that choice. I just wasn't expecting them to do that, but it sounds like they will, if this intel is all accurate and correct. I was expecting no John Cooper Works until the electric one in 2025, but sounds like we'll get something next year, and so it could still be gas powered, which is great news that has been saved. We still have some gas fun with the John Cooper Works here still. And the last thing also to mention, though, about this whole little teaser is that the John Cooper Works logo has been restyled now for a cleaner look as well, and I think it's a nice improvement there. So yeah, not sure when we'll see more, if they're going to do more teasers, or if we're just not going to hear anything until next year, or what, but interesting to get that first teaser here, and we'll see how it all plays out. And lastly, I want to thank all of you that are members of the Maran Motoring Club. So we did have a few new members join here this week, thanks to the membership gifts that were given in the last live stream by the Trucking Car Guy and Kyle. So huge thanks to both of you for your continued support and for gifting memberships so consistently. I'm sure many of the members really appreciate it, and I certainly do as well. So huge thanks and shout out to both of you. I also want to give a big welcome here to the new members. So welcome to Brianna CC, William Long, Dave V, the MG channel, Mayhem069, and Eric Ludlow. Thank you all for joining in here. Hope you enjoy all the membership perks, and hope you can join in the live stream here where you do get that priority answering. And so hopefully I can chat with more of you then. But for anyone else who'd like to join and become a member, there's always join buttons here on the video page, on the channel page, and a link in the description. But anyway, thank you all very much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on all this stuff in the comments below. Please also leave a like and subscribe to keep these videos coming, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.